What is going on, everybody? I still have not changed the intro. I haven't had the chance to, but that's okay because one day Hunting Hitler is coming back. Welcome everybody to what's the show called? Hitler and the Nazis Evil on Trial. Never mind. My apologies. I'm a little tired. So welcome to me, but more importantly, welcome to Anna.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hi, Andy. Hi, Wade. Hi, everybody who's lurking. So why are you tired?
Because I work
I've
a lot.
had a whole day of working. You literally just woke up.
I just got off a 60-hour work week, I guess.
All right, that's
Is that okay with you? Sorry, I'm sharing this
yeah, it's
stream
fine.
on
It's
my
okay. If
face.
it's okay with Chad, it's okay with me.
Yes. That being said, I'm sure the chat is all for it. Anna said, "Hey everyone," and I don't know what I know what the last one is, but what's the one in the middle?
Добро пожаловать, which means welcome in Russian.
It's a long way to say welcome, but I like it. Wade says, "Let's go." That's right. What's up, Andy? How you doing? And of course, so yes, anybody who's lurking, which I'm sure people will filter in because last week I was very, very late by like
Oh
2 hours.
wow, Andy's on Rumble. Cool.
Yeah, Andy is on Rumble. So
Awesome.
I also meant to set up a Legion Teaches History Rumble page, and I haven't had a chance to do that yet either. So I was up early, had an appointment, so I had to.
I just saw a glitch. I'm glitching again.
Why are you always glitching?
I don't know. It only happens on streams with you and when we're talking about this subject. See?
Yeah,
I'm
I
snake.
saw it.
Yeah. Weird.
That is weird. I mean,
I
it
might
only happens on streams with me.
It's never happened before. I might have to restart my computer. I don't know
Mhm.
why, but god damn this freaking pen. You know the
Uh,
most amazing thing is when you buy something and it has the tag on it and you don't have scissors around and you don't want to like be biting it off because it's rubber. Oh, there, I did it. Cool. Sorry.
um,
I'm gonna restart my computer. Apologies, everyone. I'll
Anna's
be
Gameland, everybody. She really is a gem. Yeah. So Anna's having problems, unfortunately, but we can actually we can just start kind of like the episode a little bit, and then we'll when Anna comes back. So Claudia says use your teeth. Um, that's probably what I would have done, to be quite frank. But of course, as a kid, I got yelled at by my mom because it's like she's like, "That's not what your teeth are for. They're gonna fall out." Um, she didn't say it like that. I'm obviously being a little bit facetious. She doesn't sound like that. And it's worse when you buy scissors that have a tag on them. That's true. That's true. Wait says, Ryan, look at my chat. Is it says, wow, Anna skipped Fortnite. I better see you two next year. Um, I'm hoping that next year, I'm not having to work so many hours, but quite frankly, there might be a change in my schedule coming. Fingers crossed. I'm going for a day shift, so it's one of those things that things could change. Oh, good lord! Why is everybody calling me at once? All of a sudden, you go live in the ring of the phone. So Anna will fill you in later. Okay, I feel like I missed something, but all right, let's jump into this real quick. And it's just kind of we'll get past the little Netflix intro here.
Über die jüdischen Parole, Proletarier aller Länder vereinigt euch, wird eine höhere Erkenntnis ziehen, nämlich
I still haven't put a filter up. I need to put a filter to kind of filter out the screen so we don't get clipped. And it would mean that I'd be able to show the whole thing because there'd be like a filter screen in front of it. I gotta do that too, guys. That's on me. So I'm gonna bounce back and forth between taking it off screen.
schaffende Angehörige aller Nationen erkennt
Working men of all nations recognize our common foe. Wait, says I thought I was on here, not history. Well, I'm streaming it to Legion Talk because, quite frankly, I have a large portion of people who watch my streams on Legion Talk. So I'm trying to promote the History Channel because it's one of those things that like when I do my Legion Wire stuff, which is like all political. I jump to Anna's back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let's see if that works. It had to update again.
Oh, this is for you. Claudia says use your teeth.
Oh, hi, Claudia. Yeah, I nearly did it, but then it came off. So,
So, and Wade said something about something. Where is it at? You'll fill me
yeah.
in later about stuff that he knows. I don't. So, all right, that's fair enough. But yeah, so let's get back to this. We only got like a couple seconds in.
Hitler had never made any secret of his desire to make Germany free of the Jews. By the late 1930s, we see increased radicalization. Jews are facing increasing pressure to give up their property. Many thousands of Jews are being imprisoned, often beaten, and occasionally murdered. And the goal for...
I like how he puts and occasionally murdered. Like he just kind of like glosses over that a little bit. Like I don't know. I felt like it was a little dismissive, I guess, but
I didn't
maybe
catch that.
it's just the way he said it. He's like and occasionally murdered. Like I would have been like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Probably just me.
And the Nazis is to put more pressure on the Jews to leave.
All right, so we are in Hamburg, 1939. I love old ships like that, old steamers. Just for the record, we'll probably be covering documentaries in the future about old steamers and just different things because I love them so much. They're so much fun. It was a more elegant time.
Jews from all parts of the Reich are liquidating their properties accumulated in Germany for generations and are drifting to Hamburg, the harbor city, where they will set out on German steamers for a new life across the sea.
The SS St. Louis was a ship with hundreds of German Jewish refugees on it. They had visas for Cuba.
For us youngsters, it was really quite an adventure because this was a luxury liner where you had a cinema and a ballroom and a swimming pool and all the usual games you have on a boat. We really had a very good time. Until we landed and found that things began to go wrong.
Yeah.
When they arrived in Havana Harbor, they were informed that the Cuban government had changed its mind, had canceled their entry visas, and now they're sort of stuck.
And the Cuban police came on, and the immigration people, and we were told, well, not today, mañana, tomorrow, but tomorrow never came.
The ship hopes that they will be allowed to disembark in the United States, but the American government denies that request. And the ship...
So, just really, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that really bothered me. Like that the U.S. government's like going, oh well, let's see.
No, there's a reason for that. So one of the things is the St. Louis, so some say SS like steamship or MS merchant ship. So I prefer to say MS St. Louis. I don't know. I don't like it when people say SS. But when it was setting off, the actual people who owned the liner, which was American German, a liner company, they knew about a week before the 900 plus passengers sailed that they would not be admitted into Cuba, because in Cuba at that time, the situation with the president back then was a lot of, he basically canceled these what they called like permits. So if you didn't have an actual US visa, you were not allowed entry into the port. And before, it was completely fine. And a couple of like 5 days before they set sail, he completely changed everything. The US authorities knew about it. The US diplomats in Havana knew about it. Some Jewish organizations who helped these poor passengers get onto that liner knew about it. And nobody told them. So, and that's like really, I don't understand why, but there's a lot of politics that was involved. Cuba was extremely poor because they also suffered, just like the United States and South America, from the Great Depression. So there was a lot of pressure on the government from Cubans to not allow more immigrants in, because they didn't want to lose the jobs that were already scarce. And as you know, you were having like more people coming in, you're not going to have the same opportunities to feed your families. So that's where the anti-immigration sentiment came in, but it was also backed by the fact that certain politicians in the Cuban government, even though it was communist and Marxist are supposed to hate fascism, supported Franco in Spain. And therefore, there was that anti-Semitism that was brewing and growing among the Cuban population. So that was one reason why he decided to change the laws. Then on America's side, it was pretty much a very similar, not as extreme situation. Like, the majority of Americans were very sympathetic when all of this came out in the news, that these people are basically stuck on a ship. And I think it was only like 22 out of the 900, because they had valid US visas, were allowed to actually dock and get off and, you know, continue their journey to emigrate into America. The rest didn't have those valid documents just because of Cuba, because they canceled those permits a week before. And so for the Americans, the citizens were very extremely sympathetic. But then again, the Great Depression just happened only a couple of years ago. And people, 83% of people, according to Fortune magazine, in 1939 did not want any immigration, for the same reason as Cuban citizens didn't, because of the scarcity of jobs. And people just wanted to take care of their families. So that was one of the reasons. Plus, also, the US had like a quota every year, a very strict quota of immigrants that they were allowed to allow into the country. And like, it's not like there were attorneys and US diplomats in Havana were working very hard, tirelessly, to negotiate with the Cuban government, and it just didn't come to fruition. That's why the majority of these Jewish passengers were sent back to Europe and settled in Great Britain, France, the Netherlands. But again, like, we all know what happened
Mm-hmm.
with that.
Yeah. That
So
well, that is a great point. Yeah, because the Great Depression and stuff like that. So I definitely get that. R2 says, "You mean peppers, please?" Yes. It's a very good movie. What is up? Says, "Hey, I hope you have a good stream. Thank you very much. Much appreciated." Um, it's just so sad to see, because you know what's coming, and quite frankly, not a whole lot you can do about it. Well, until we finally decide to do something about it.
Has no choice but to turn back.
One man committed suicide with a razor blade. I saw him rushing out with the blood dripping down, and he jumped into the water. But even when he was in the rescue launch, he was still trying to pull his arteries out, and he didn't want to be saved.
Just for the record, I like that Kryptonian. It sounds like Supermanish, like, you know what I mean, like Kryptonian. I don't know. Sorry, I just thought that was I like that. It's funny. So yeah, this is what's not funny is these people being turned away, and of course we know where this goes.
At the
Obviously,
time Goebbels published in the newspapers, you see, nobody wants them either. At least we are building camps for them.
no, he
Yeah.
sucks. That dude sucks. I mean, he spread the worst propaganda, and he was so good at it too. And obviously, we discussed last week that that all Hitler's higher ups, they were all vying for his praise, because they knew that one day, you know, he would no longer be around, and they wanted them to be the successor. And they were all infighting
Yeah.
constantly.
I also just like remembered something. So to go back to your question, like that made you feel bad, but again, going back to the quota, like the United States had a quota of immigrants, and out of the German Austrians, which combined made up one quota, it was like 28,000 people, and you had to be on the list. And people waited for years and years. So if you were gonna actually allow some of these passengers into the US, you would have to deny those families that were waiting
Hmm.
for years. So it's a very like it's not a black and white situation. You know, you want to help everyone, but that's one of the reasons. Like they even wrote when they were on the ship, they wrote Roosevelt like personal they weren't called telegrams back then. What were they called? Um whatever. Freaking oh god, what are they called?
I know it.
But yeah, anyway, they like sent through like lawyers and everything, like personal messages to Roosevelt. He just completely ignored them.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, that's ironically, a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, it was through wireless radio, you know, basically using taps and stuff like that. Similar to, I mean, we weren't really that advanced. And I can't remember what they're called, but I know what you're
They're
saying.
like
But yeah,
cables, but you don't call it like in Russian we say kabel, which means cable, but it's called something. Damn it.
what's wild is that's where Western Union came from.
Yeah, right.
And
Hmm.
a lot of people don't know that. You know, you think of Western Union, you're like, oh, I'm going to go get a MoneyGram or something like that, you know. But no, that's where Western Union came from, was literally sending these messages over wireless radio that you couldn't speak into, but you had to tap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting bit of history. But no, and we have similar problems today. It's one reason that a lot of people are so pro not this illegal immigration, because there are people who are doing it the right way, going through the process. It takes years, and you're just drop kicking them to the side, and it's not fair. Not fair now, and it wasn't fair then. So
Yeah.
I definitely understand, but it just knowing it's good to see you, man. Haven't seen you in a while, so it's
Yeah.
always good to see you. But yeah, it's one of those things, you know where it's going, and you're like, "Ooh, only we could have did something differently." But it's like at the time they didn't know that, so you can't see the future. Oh, it's just the intro. I'll skip this.
Yeah.
Attention! Tribunal. One of the most striking and revealing of all.
So this is actual audio, which I like that they did put it in, because, like Anna was saying last week, there's actual audio. You could put it in. You don't have to do the
There's
dramatization.
video. There's video too. You can go
Oh,
watch.
there's video too, and we've seen some video, but you
Yeah,
know,
they have some in this episode as well, but I think one of the reasons is again this episode was made more for like maybe a different kind of generation who would see something like that kind of footage, because there's very little of it. It's all the footage we seem to see apart from later as well. There's going to be audio when I think it's Shire talking and the journalist from CBS, And I was like, what is he saying? Can't understand anything. And I think that's when the younger generation would be like, no, this is too difficult for my brain to comprehend. I actually have to go and look it up and actually read the subtitles. So that's why they're making it very like.
And not to take a shot at the younger generations, but they like shiny things phones, so it's like, I get it. I guess I get it. Me, I'm just a history nerd, so it's like I like that old kind of stuff. But at least they're using the audio. And if they were going to do something kind of fancy, then like the overlay is kind of nice that they're doing it.
All the captured documents which have come to hand is a document which we have come to know as the Hossbach Note of a conference in the Reich Chancellery on 5 November 1937, in the course of which Hitler outlined to those present the possibilities and necessities of expanding their foreign policy and requested, I quote, that his statements be looked upon in the case of his death as his last will and testament. The document destroys any possible doubt concerning the Nazis' premeditation of their crimes against peace.
For the prosecution, this is a smoking gun, right? You've got Hitler telling several of the defendants, we're going to annex Austria, we're going to annex Czechoslovakia. That is pretty close to a textbook piece of evidence for a conspiracy.
Yeah.
At this very secret meeting, which took place in the Reich Chancellery, Hitler called all of his generals together and explained the sort of grand layout of what he saw coming ahead, which was the absolute necessary war for the survival of the German people.
He says, we have to conquer living space because if we don't, we will fail as a people, right? We will die out, and we will deserve to die out.
He's talking almost as if this is going to be his legacy. He's telling his would-be successors that if I'm no longer here, what I want you to do is make sure you fulfill these territorial goals for me. And the ultimate aim is Lebensraum.
One point, you can see the difference in the academia and historians that they're using and the experts that they're using in this episode compared to the last one. It just has more gravitas with what they're actually talking about. And you're more inclined to, especially knowing your history, to actually like agree with what they're saying. But it completely contradicts what the other ones were saying in the last one, that he was lazy, he slept all day, that he didn't know what he was doing because he was drugged up, and like it's just such a difference. And that's, I think, one thing that people like really need to understand, like with when you're reading news articles, when you're listening to people, like I looked up all of these folks who were in this documentary.
Oh, the researchers, really?
Yeah,
Or the
like
historians?
everybody, like all of them. And I don't have a problem with any of the ones who are in this episode. Well, apart from that one lady with the annoying voice that comes back.
The one that, she
which is insane with what happened, like, yesterday.
Speaking of insanity, not going to go down that rabbit hole, but
No.
this is what happens when you paint somebody as literally Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe let's stop it, you weirdos.
Is getting living space for the Germans. And so there's this sort of mission that's creeping into his language, which now overtly and explicitly talks about military action.
And at this point, Hitler, in a sense, has conducted a series of gambles starting in 1936. First, as he marches into the Rhineland, the French do nothing, the British do nothing. The next, 38, he marches into Austria. He's greeted with huge crowds. It's a victory parade to Vienna. So having gotten that.
And they even talked about the fact that, like, in the invasion of Austria was basically a peaceful invasion. It was just they marched in and the Austrians did nothing. And then, oh, all right, guess whatever. And so it was one of those things that both were peaceful invasions. There was no fighting. And again, this violated the treaty that was signed. Now, we can debate whether or not that the treaty was fair to the actual citizens of Germany, and it pretty much wasn't. But it gave an evil man a reason to do a thing. And so it gave him a reason, but it's still his actions that did it. So again, not really defending him, because he was an evil man, but he was a lot smarter than people give him credit for. He really was. Especially in that last episode, calling him lazy and all that stuff. Dude wasn't lazy. Dude was very determined.
And I think Clifton brings up a good.
Clifton said the history how Italy got involved into everything is also very interesting, but barely anyone talks about. That's true.
Yep.
That is very, very true. Because even on the excuse me, sorry, the episodes of Hunting Hitler that we've watched, that Italy was an ally of Germany, and it was one of those things that that's where a lot of Nazi refugees kind of fled to escape. So, and escape to South America, confirmed.
Yeah, but I
Hitler,
think,
but we don't know.
Yeah, I think he's also referring to the pact that Germany made with Japan, which completely at that point excluded the Soviet Union.
Yep.
And then Italy joined it as well, which is when Stalin started. Well, we'll get to that. They'll talk about it a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, we all like watching Game of Thrones. Like, this was at this point a real Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Even though people were being persecuted and dying and horrible things happening to them, like, it was a world exactly like that, where people with a lot of power, which is even happening today, are making executive decisions and playing games with each other. And then we, as the peasants, suffer the consequences.
100%. Well, literally, a lot of people don't realize that literally Tolkien was writing Lord of the Rings while he was fighting in World War II.
Please don't. No, don't go in. No,
we're not talking about Rings of Power.
No, I don't want to do it. I can't. My brain hurts. I can't.
We're talking about actual Tolkien, the guy who wrote.
I know, but I can't do it. No.
You got Rings of Power
It's like a disease. It's like herpes. I can't.
The other Tolkien book, Herpes. I don't know. Shut up, Ryan. That's the appropriate response.
Then there's a German minority that lives in the kind of the U-shaped ring of Czechoslovakia on the German border. That's called the Sudetenland.
There are about 3 million.
This map is important, but real quick, I want to highlight what Clifton said. Yep, Italy went back and forth on which side. I don't want to read that because
Tunisia.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what the first word is. Sealed the deal. All right, yeah. So a lot of people know what Germany looks like today. That's not what it looked like then.
No, not at all.
No. So literally, there's a good chunk of all of this that looks the same because I was there, but you have to kind of just do that because there's a little bit of a sliver there that is current day Germany. So
Germans living in the mountainous Sudetenland. Germany wants those Germans to belong to it. And there's a fledgling Nazi party there that the German regime supports. And so Hitler's argument is, we just want these territories. They are full of Germans, they should belong to Germany.
So Hitler, he makes a case that it's the Sudeten Germans' right to be reunited.
Ooh, ooh, where have I heard this before?
Well, do tell.
Really? Like Crimea, Donbass?
Hmm. Yeah.
But the way that like they're saying it, like it makes you think of all of the people who actually compare that to what's happening now, and that's two completely different scenarios. There's no way in hell Russians want to take over, like, oh, they took Donbass now, like what all Western media and certain politicians are saying, like even in the latest debate, when are they going to stop? Are they going to stop at that, or are they going to go further? Like those are two completely different scenarios, two different ideologies, two, like, yes, people may be in that route, but he didn't. It just, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to ruin it for people watching because I know what is going to be said next in this documentary. But yeah.
Well, what a lot of people don't understand about current day, a war that's gone on for 3 years now, which is way too fracking long.
Hmm.
Um, because
No, I'm going to correct you on that. The war started in 2012. Just nobody was
yeah,
reporting on it, you know?
yeah, that's yep. No, so that is true. And that's why this is going to lead me to say this. The people of Crimea and the Donbass region are actually okay with the fact that the Russians are there. They actually want to be a part of Russia. A lot of people, you won't hear that reporting, and I've said that for years over this war. I'm like, they want to be a part of that. Now the rest of you, the rest of Ukraine, whatever. But it's one of those things that the media doesn't say that because they lie, because they want to make it sound like Russia completely
Because
bad.
they want to make it sound like what it sounds like
Yes, exactly.
here.
And they want people to put Ukraine flags in their bio. Like it's just the way it is. Like politics is a messy, mushy mess.
Yeah.
This whole thing is literally politics. This is just history is politics from the past for the most part. Wars start because of politics.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it needs to be said, and that these people in these regions, they want to be a part of that. It's no different than this. And so but I'm sure the media is probably spinning some things not great, not like today, but still it's not great. But anyway, uh
In the German Reich. He basically threatens to invade the Sudetenland. And there are many, many people all over Europe who realize that one could go to war over this, but do you really want to?
well, no, because the world was still remembers World War One. I mean, it was referenced as the Great War because, quite frankly, the world had never seen anything like this. So,
Exactly.
so no, they weren't looking for round two. They're like, oh, hey, let's do this again. It was a lot of fun. No, millions of people died, and then this, what were the casualties for World War One? They were in the millions, but they weren't in the tens of millions. And then World War Two happened. It was in the tens of millions. So we repeated it, and it only doubled, tripled. I could look it up, but yeah, it was World War One killed like I think like somewhere in the neighborhood of like 5-6 million people, and World War Two killed
But
like
also you have to remember that back then, the equipment, military, like everything was not as advanced. And therefore, I mean, you had bombs and everything and
mm,
tanks, but they were very primitive compared to. So yeah, and in the 30s, because Germany announced, I think back in like 34 even, or so he came into power in 33, so it was like 35. He was like, I'm bringing back conscription. I'm going to increase the going against the Treaty of Versailles, increase the actual size of the country's army to like 500,000 people. So like people were, I don't want war anymore. You know, I don't want to be starving again, go through this depression. And now they have better technology and better tanks and better everything. Like, who wants that? No.
Certainly not me, which is one reason that I've been so outspoken over what is now going on two conflicts that I'm pretty pro. Let's not have people die. As somebody who was in the U.S. Army, like,
That's not realistic, though.
oh no, it's not realistic because human beings are going to human being, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's why you need good diplomats and not
So
clowns.
it's a good point, but it's just wild that you would have thought we would have learned lessons, and for a long time we did learn the lessons of all of this, but in today's world we're so far removed from all of that the generations now they don't remember it, because unfortunately people, you know, we remember a situation the way we perceive it, and the human brain has been known to to be delusional in a sense, like to where, if there's a situation that you get into and you feel you're right and you feel you were wronged in the situation, the human brain will actually convince itself that it was, and that if you actually video recorded it and saw what really happened, it'd be like going, no, that's not what happened. And it's just human nature to deceive yourself. But anyway, we don't we're learning things from the past again, I guess. Sorry.
This is sorry. This is evil on trial. This is not profiling Hitler. Even though Ryan, you that was a good profile of what he was doing. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good profile of people today. They have this delusion that they think that this war and all these people, whether it be in Israel or in Ukraine, it's like they're like, oh, it's for a just cause. So just keep having people die. It's like maybe
No.
can we find like a common ground to end this so people stop dying? But
Mm.
they're delusional people who think that it's a good thing and they don't care. So that was kind of my point behind that.
Yeah.
One day early in September, I kissed Tess and Eileen goodbye, and once more caught a plane to Germany. Hitler has demanded that Czechoslovakia agree to the handing over of Sudetenland. Mr. Chamberlain has agreed to convey this demand to the Czechoslovak government.
Yeah, so this is Bill Shire. Like I really respect him as a journalist. He was one of the very few people that CBS actually sent. Was it CBS or NBC? No, it was definitely CBS. They sent an NBC guy too, but he was the one who actually was doing all of the radio reporting on the ground from the very beginning, from HH's rise to power to the armistice signing with France in 1940 to like he was there until the very end, until it got too, heated for him, so he had to leave. But what a great reporter, what a great radio journalist, like risking everything to be in a place by himself. The NBC, was it NBC or CBS? Damn it. CBS. It was CBS. Yes. They didn't even like him because of his voice, the way that he was broadcasting. He had to go through auditions. And I think this is one thing that Nerdrotic and other people were saying on their show the other day. When you hire somebody, you don't hire them just because they are this or that or look like this. They actually have to audition for the part. And his voice was not I would never hire him, having worked in journalism. But it was his absolute bravery and him being so focused on actually doing things that other journalists might not, and trying to be objective as he could be. Much respect to him.
like all foreign correspondents, wants to get a news story out of it. And he's talking to Czech officials as part of his reporting duties. They believed they were being sold down the river, and I think Shire believed that as well. He wants to report what they're doing because he feels, to him, he thinks it's a mistake.
Just as I was about to go on the air at 2 a.m. with the day's story and the official communique, Goebbels and the Nazi boss of German radio forbade me to say anything over the air except to read the official communique.
The censorship in Nazi Germany is very challenging. You can't say this, you can't say that. You know, you can't describe German moves as aggression. You can't do anything critical at all about Hitler. And
Boy, that's really weird. Where have I heard that recently?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is why we do this show. But that's kind of the sad part, is that that at least on Legion Talk, is that everybody on Legion Talk understands that Legion teaches history, which of course are a lot of crossover. But if you get people who come to this history channel and they see this opinion, and they disagree with it, they'll probably downvote the stream or leave a negative comment, or it's just because, again, we're in today's world, and it's like, you can't say that. You're not allowed to criticize this. It's like, no, I can. I'm allowed to. And unfortunately, where you live, there are things you can't criticize, but
Exactly. That's a very big thing. Like, you can talk about it, but you can only talk about it in very vague terms, which is what I'm doing right now. But again, it's like, okay, so it's really interesting how, and this is how, like, please don't be fooled. There are so very many journalists out there who work for corporations, especially in the United States, because it's all corporate owned, all those big companies. So there's an editorial agenda for Fox, for ABC, for NBC, for whatever. There's an editorial agenda in Russia. A lot of the news companies are state-owned, same thing, editorial agenda. But you can sometimes have journalists who really come in, and because of their passion for reporting the truth and actually doing something, they have to step away and go independent. And then neither side, where you could have had a career and made lots of money, wants to hire you. So you kind of like go around the place and put in like your opinion pieces on things and see if people agree with them on either side. And so with him, he was doing everything, like trying to actually report objectively and be brave about it, but also you have to be smart. You're living in a society which is cramping down and being all into censorship. So are you going to be stupid having a wife and children and trying to actually stay alive and not have the Gestapo accuse you of certain things later on, which he will get into? But like, or are you going to play with it but actually try and like figure out what is going on and maybe write it down somewhere secretly so later on you could tell history about it? This is what I loved about this guy. He was in such danger constantly, but he was always trying to report as honestly as he could. And when you are given a script, which everybody is, nobody who you see, none of the anchors write their own script.
Nope.
So they don't sit there and write it. Maybe Tucker Carlson does. I don't know, but he'll probably have people tell him what to say as well, and producers and senior editors. But like, let's not confuse the fact that it's never going to be as honest as we expect it to be. Like, there's always something else at play.
I think Tucker Carlson is the best example of probably getting to say the majority of what he wants when he was at Fox, but he's not there anymore. And that's kind of and then of course you can say the same thing about Don Lemon at CNN. And you see the two differences. Tucker Carlson went out and started doing his own thing, and Don Lemon, who had an interview, they both had interviews with Elon Musk, and Don Lemon literally, and Elon's like, Don, you can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. He's like, you're doing CNN, but not at CNN. It's like, because these, you see that. Yeah, no, it's about money. It's about getting this,
Well, actually, Tucker had the balls to go to Russia and actually interview
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Putin, which not a lot of journalists get access to. So I wonder why that was. And he
Probably.
wasn't giving him a very easy time either. So
No, he wasn't.
maybe it's because you want to be interviewed and have a conversation with somebody who is not just going to stand there and spin the narrative just to make you look bad, but is actually interested in your opinion and what you have to say.
Yeah. No. And again, that interview's probably been memory hold by a lot of people who just don't remember it. And so it is what it is.
That drove him absolutely crazy. So he was really in a very tight window in terms of what he could say and not say.
Now, in a moment or two, we're told Hitler will be coming. He has left the chancellery a few seconds ago, and he's driving down the Leipziger Strasse to the Potsdamer Platz.
Ich habe nunmehr ein Memorandum mit einem letzten und
Representing Germany's last and final proposal
endgültigen deutschen Vorschlag der britischen Regierung zur
with the British government.
Yep.
Verfügung gestellt. Jenes Gebiet,
That any territory which is German
vollgemerkt deutsch ist und sein Willen
who
nach
wants to come
Deutschland
to
will,
Germany
kommt jetzt
belongs
zu
to
Deutschland.
Germany. Man, I'll tell you what, like, just whoa. I don't know, to see these videos and these photos and stuff is wild to me. It really does feel like a different time. And I know that's stupid because it was a different time, but it really does. Like, when you watch these old videos, you're like, what was going on? What kind of, it was almost a sense of madness that had kind of swept so many people. And again, you could argue for today, but I'm not going to argue for today. I'm just going to say it's a little creepy to see sometimes.
Yeah, I get what you
think.
mean.
And the world prays fervently that the roar of this plain, this dramatic meeting, may bring peace.
It was a conference held between Germany on the one hand, the British, the French, and the Italians on the other hand, in which those great powers negotiate that Hitler has the right to the Sudetenland.
The thinking is, if we finally let Hitler have that territory, there won't be any more reason for conflict. All the Germans will be together, and Hitler will no longer make any more demands.
The reaction to Munich on the Allies' side is mixed emotions. On the one hand, people are greatly relieved that war has not broken out. On the other hand, there is a sense of shame that they have sold out the Czechs. So it was, on Hitler's part, a brinksmanship gamble that ultimately the Allies would cave.
It's all over. At 12:30 this morning, 30 minutes after midnight, Hitler, Mussolini, Chamberlain, and Daladier signed a pact turning over Sudetenland to Germany. Czechoslovakia, which is asked to make all the sacrifices so that Europe may have peace, was not consulted here at any stage of the talks.
Exactly.
Yep. That's an interesting sight. Seeing two such opposing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Clifton says Germany was hoping to be friends with the British. I mean, nope. You're gonna say something? Go ahead.
Whatever Germany, as in like the people were hoping, and whatever Hitler's government and his entourage of people were hoping does not in any way align with the politics of Britain at the time, or I think Britain was being very sly and kind of trying to also like align itself with Germany, uh, and also like to make sure that communism would not take over the United Kingdom. So like everybody was playing like double bluff this. So you could never trust anyone. You could never go into a room and like it's like why history teaches us you can't trust politicians. Honestly, they always say things and then as soon as they're elected, like other things happen, or they'll say one thing about a policy or about an agreement or some conference they had with somebody, and then it's the complete opposite. And this was such a good example of everybody apart from the actual countries that were carved up in Eastern Europe and suffered, and then everybody else suffered. But at that point, I think what they're trying to say is it was the Munich conference where France, Great Britain, Germany, and Italy came together to discuss the fate of a different country, the Sudetenland. And Czechoslovakia, which is Sudetenland, part of it, like was not even invited. And Stalin, who at that point was having, like friendly conversations with Adolf Hitler, was not invited, and that hurt his ego. And that's when he actually, after that conference, started thinking, I don't know what these powers actually are going to try and do to my country, because I thought I had a good relationship with Germany, but they're all imperial Western capitalist countries. We don't believe in this here in the Soviet Union. We are Marxists and we don't believe in capitalism and imperialism. So I don't know. So that's when he started changing his tune. But again, other things happened, which they show in the show.
Just real quick. Nice background on the PS5 there.
What?
Your background on the PlayStation.
Oh,
you usually have like a different photo, like Rings of Power or something like that on the background, and it's just like the screen.
No, I didn't want to put anything weird. Okay, fine. I'll like go off camera. Fine, Ryan. Be that way.
That's not what I said.
I'll put the Spitfire on. How about that?
The chat's gonna yell at me because you're not on camera anymore. They're like, "Oh, good job, dumbass."
Yeah, good job.
Dumbass. You can say it.
No,
It's all right.
No, it's fine.
Shire, he's in Munich, that he sees Hitler in the street passing by, and he sees in his face this determination, this satisfaction that he just took another part of another country.
Yep.
Hitler brushed past me like the conqueror he is this morning. I noticed his swagger.
Shire reads into his face and in his eyes this determination that I got away with it again. I fooled the British. I'm going to keep going. They're not going to stop me.
Which is true. He got away with it again. Why would he stop?
And quick note, this is from William Shire's diaries, not from the actual like reports, because obviously he could not say those things back then. He would immediately be Gestapo'd, and so this is his diaries, which is another interesting story that the episode gets to.
Yeah, and to be dragged away by the Gestapo, there was two things that were going to happen. You were either going to be shot in the street, or you would be put in a camp.
Tortured.
So, not great options. Yeah. The irony is that actually at work yesterday, I met an aircraft mechanic who was actually he actually flew in from Germany to work on this airplane, and him and I were kind of talking and stuff like that, and it was interesting his perspective that because the conversation led to that certain opinions you're not allowed to have anymore or you be labeled as this. And it's the same thing even in Germany today. And I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like, yeah. Clifton is our German expert, and he tells me about it all the time. Britain is the same. Yeah.
Yep.
No one's going to get in my way. They didn't get in the way in the Rhineland, they didn't get in my way in Austria, and they're not getting in my way in the Sudetenland.
Am 3. Oktober bereits besuchte unser Führer sein Sudet.
Our dear Führer visited the German Sudetenland. Play, please.
Deutsches Land.
The decision to give up the Sudetenland to Hitler had many, many implications because this was a very important physical, geographical barrier to invasion, which means the road to Prague is open should Hitler decide to go further.
A few months after the Munich Agreement, Hitler moves in and takes over the rest of Czechoslovakia, which, contains almost...
Whoa. Complain about the German government online and you can now go to jail for 2 years. Holy sh... Okay. That's insanity. Well, Britain's doing it too.
Yeah, like, what is it now? 20 years? Whatever.
Holy crap. All right. That's terrifying.
But you see, there are other people out there who think we are exaggerating. And people who think that this is something that our mind is making up, that we're being on the other side of the spectrum of their beliefs and we're completely insane. Whereas I'm ready to listen to what you have to say, like show me the actual evidence where it is not happening, and then show me the evidence where it is happening. And it's like, I can't do that. I can only show you like I don't want to believe in this. I don't want, no, I just want to go and enjoy my life. I don't want to think about things happening like that. Well, I'm sorry, you have to.
Some people live in a very, very narrow bubble.
Yeah.
No Germans.
Proud.
The Czechs don't really put up a fight. They can't. Once he has control of the Sudetenland, they don't have any natural defensive terrain.
When he occupies Prague in the spring of '39, he is occupying for the first time a country that is non-German.
Hitler looks at the collapse over the Sudetenland as just simply more of the weakness of the Western Allies. They're not going to fight him. They're never going to stand up to him.
Now, according to the Hossbach Memorandum, it's not about getting all the Germans together. It's about having Lebensraum, it's living space.
Yep. Do you remember Hitler saying that at 6 o'clock in the morning, the German army would invade Czechoslovakia from all sides?
Ich entsinne mich der genauen Worte nicht mehr.
Do you remember Hitler saying that within 2 days the Czech army would not exist anymore?
Im Einzelnen entsinne ich mich dessen nicht, nein.
Don't you think you could answer one of my questions directly?
Yeah,
I'll ask you it again. Will you agree with me that you had threatened to march in overwhelming strength and to bomb Prague if they didn't agree? What further pressure could you put on Czechoslovakia?
Krieg zum Beispiel.
Then, what is
He says war, for instance, and then he's like that.
that but war?
In the spring of '39, the war drums begin to beat, and the Poles begin to realize that they're next on the menu. And their answer is not do what the Czechs did. And so the Polish strategy is no. We don't negotiate, we don't surrender anything.
Poland's leaders were military men. They answered force with force. They enlarged the Polish army.
So just
clear by
again,
then.
quickly going back to the Sudetenland and Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia had a pact with France and the Soviet Union, whereas if anybody ever invades them, either the France, who has a pact with Germany now, or Soviet Union, who doesn't have a pact with anyone at this moment but has a pact with Czechoslovakia, would invade. So it was a really, like, again, like, interesting situation where that I think that's one of the reasons why Germany and Soviet Union, well, I don't want to go into too much detail because I think they're going to go into it next episode or maybe at some other point. But one of the reasons why the Soviet Union, because this is how the First World War happened as well. Everybody had all these pacts, and it's like you're going against each other. But how am I? I'm trying to protect my country, and I don't want you on my borders. So I'm going to make a pact now with Germany to say, like, Czechoslovakia can be yours, so we don't have to go to war with France. But then you have a pact with France, but then we don't have a pact with France. So it was so, like, all over the place. And that's when, like, to be able to get to Czechoslovakia, to protect it from Germany, you would have to go through Romania. And then, yeah, up that way, which is what actually the Soviet Union did in the end. They did send troops through Romania to Czechoslovakia to station them there. But it's, oh God, like, seriously, it's just this, like, chess playing game that they were doing, like, to see who is mentally, like, more capable of, overcoming the other. It's ridiculous, honestly.
It was a wild time because it literally was like you said, like Game of Thrones, because relationships were changing so much that ultimately one of the reasons that that ultimately Germany and the Soviet Union got into it is because Germany ultimately betrayed the Soviet Union. And so it was, and then of course, because Germany had this alliance with Japan and the United States, while funding the allies at the time, not actually being
Mhm.
a part of the war, when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
literally it thrust the United States in this war that we didn't really have this major this we weren't actually in an actual conflict. We were just sending supplies at the time. And that's one reason that, again, kind of the famous thing from Winston Churchill is that after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, uh, he said, he's like, we just won the war because they awoke a sleeping giant. Because there's a YouTube video that shows the progression of the countries that, as they're fighting and getting involved in the war, you see like production ramping up, and then they
No.
drop. What do you mean? What do you mean? No, there
No.
is a YouTube.
No, I understand that he said that, but Churchill was an imperialist. He hated communism and Marxism, and he hated the Soviet Union. But even though as soon as all of that happened, and Hitler had a second front, not the Western Front, the Eastern Front, he lost the war because he he underestimated the actual will of, like, Slavic people and Russian people trying to protect their land and their families. He thought people would just go, easily, like they did in Austria or Czechoslovakia or France. Not to say there was no resistance and people weren't resisting and were against it, but he really underestimated Stalin and the fact that Stalin actually put a lot of people to death because it was a huge country full of waves and waves of soldiers just running at, on the front line. And it was wave after wave after wave. And also just like people who weren't even like just normal peasants, like really trying to protect their land. Like he really underestimated that. Why do I keep wanting to say something else? Under mustard and never mind.
No, I completely understand that. The reason that this sentiment was said is because at the time the Germans were bombing London. Like it was the British were literally on their back heel. I mean,
No,
they were being
yeah, this happened after this segment in the episode. So
no, I know, but I'm talking about what I'm talking about, the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And that's why Winston Churchill said what he said is because London was, I mean, they were on the British were on their back heel so much, they were the last front. And so when the United States entered the war, that's why he uttered the fact. He's like, we just won the war. Because at the time the United States wasn't involved. And all these other countries that were, and it shows a graph too of production of and gaining basically capital and stuff like that and armaments and everything like that because the United States was preparing
yep.
that the other countries were down here fighting and the United States was like way bar graphs above. So no, Hitler was very foolish to fight on two fronts, absolutely. And
Well, of course you would be bar graphs above if you were factories and you didn't have like a land invasion with your houses being burnt down, your women raped, your children killed. Like you didn't have that on your soil. So of
no,
course your factories would be producing better than the rest of Europe.
well, yes, that's very true. But I'm talking about from an actual economic standpoint that like literally war is a meat grinder. Not just physically for the people involved, but economically, it eventually takes this massive toll, and the United States wasn't experiencing that toll. So by the time the United States basically kicked the door in and said, "Here, we're coming," it was
Of course, big contribution, but I think everybody made a huge contribution.
and I'm not taking that away. I see where you're going with that. I'm not taking that away, but it's one of the reasons that I think Winston Churchill said what he said is because Britain was on its back heel. They were on the verge of really having a probably being overrun in
No,
Britain
they
itself.
weren't. That's why Dunkirk happened.
Yeah, but Britain was still on its back heels. I mean, they were bombing
No, it
London.
wasn't. The RAF literally with the Blitzkrieg, won the Blitzkrieg.
No, I know.
So they weren't. It wasn't Americans. It was the Royal Army Force that
I'm,
was fighting the German fighters. They were the ones who actually won the Blitzkrieg against London.
I know, but when your capital city's being bombed is not great. That'd be like Washington D.C. being bombed by right now by the Chinese. That's not great.
Yeah, that would be different.
British policymakers that the next move would be Poland. So both France and Britain are now warning that if Germany attacks Poland, then they will declare war on it. But they're still highly reluctant to do so.
The Soviet Union has also been watching all of the developments of the Anschluss and Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia with great interest. And Stalin has been very nervous because he's seen Germany getting stronger and stronger, and he isn't sure that Poland is going to be enough of a buffer zone if Germany should attack Poland first and then head off to the Soviet Union.
After Munich, Stalin is very upset that he hadn't been invited to the table, that he had been excluded from this conference. If they had turned their backs on Czechoslovakia, then what was the role that they were imagining the Soviet Union played in the future of Europe? Hitler has some respect for Stalin, but absolutely despises Bolshevism and what he thinks the Soviet Union stands for. And Stalin despises racial ideology of Nazi Germany. So these are countries.
Do you want to address what Bolshevism is?
Mm-hmm.
So it is the revolution led by Vladimir Lenin, who started the party, which is a Marxist party. which is interesting. In Russian, Bolshevism translates to Bolshevik, which means you are the majority of something. In the beginning, they were the minority of something. And then you had the Mensheviks, which were two other guys. And Menshevik means you were the minority of something. They were the majority. And then all of it flipped with the Russian Revolution of 2017. There were two, the October Revolution and the February 2017 Revolution, which is when Lenin and the Bolsheviks took complete power in Russia.
Did you say 2017?
Oh my God, I'm sorry, 1917.
Yeah, well, I just had a moment. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, no, not too.
Well, 2017.
Yeah. Brain.
That's
Freudian slip.
that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. Yeah, because I was like, hold on. I'm like, I'm just like, I'm listening to you because I mean, obviously, you're 100% right. I mean, we learn about it.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about another group of people, unfortunately.
I remember again, in history class in the United States, they actually teach about the Bolshevik Revolution. I don't know if they do it now. I hope they
Probably
do, but
not.
probably not. Which is one, like sad.
Leaders that are enemies. But after the Munich conference, Stalin really redoubles his efforts to try to reach out to Hitler. Hitler signals that he's open to discussions.
Let's try to click this one.
Stalin brings in his Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vyacheslav Molotov. Then they invite Ribbentrop to Moscow.
Joachim von Ribbentrop is an interesting figure. He's one of these mediocrities who manages to reach very prominent positions in the Third Reich. He was a champagne dealer for most of his adult life and then becomes the Nazi foreign minister.
He is a Nazi who had almost no experience in diplomacy before, and Molotov is a long...
That's not true. He made stuff that got people drunk. Just get people drunk and everybody gets along for the most part.
Yeah.
It's a joke, but I guess it didn't last. Anna's like, no, not even close.
No, but it's true. Ribbentrop is more of like a charmer, that's good foreign ministers need to be charming. You can't just go in there and just being like Molotov cocktail you.
That's true. I don't understand this comment. Cows are good for memory. What does that mean?
If you eat meat, protein.
Oh. I am not a Swiftie. We've had this conversation more than once. Not a Swiftie. It's just one of the most incredible memes that I've ever.
Because unless I am hallucinating, I can see a Swiftie. I can see an actual Taylor somewhere here. I don't know where she is, but she's probably somewhere on the screen.
I forgot to change the background. I usually change the background for this stream.
That's fine. You can have her on. Jesus.
Did you say cheeses?
Jesus, yeah.
Do you like some cheese?
Yep.
No, not Dermy cow. Kidding. Dermy's a good dude. Dermy's a good dude.
Bolshevik, these two men, they're acting very much as emissaries of their respective leaders.
Der mir dort von Stalin und Molotow gewordene Empfang war sehr freundlich. Ich habe den russischen Herren gesagt, dass Deutschland alles tun würde,
I should have been reading that. Sorry. I sometimes forget you guys can't see the screen.
Stalin und Molotow.
He's basically sweet talking him. He's saying like, oh my God, like, yeah, we're gonna do whatever you want us to do, and you do what we want you to do, and we're like good buddies.
Did he say, oh my God, like that? He's like, oh my God. Jesus.
No, like, I don't care what he says.
Well,
In the end, it was all BS.
it was all BS. The reception given to me by Stalin and Molotov
Gewordene Empfang
was very
war
friendly.
sehr freundlich. Ich habe den
I told
russischen
the Russian
Herren
gentlemen
gesagt, dass Deutschland
that Germany would do
alles
everything
tun
to
würde,
settle
um
the situation in Poland.
die
And
Lage
wrong answer.
mit Polen und die Schwierigkeit
And
friedlich
to
zu
settle the
regeln.
difficulties
Ich habe
peacefully.
aber keinen
Yeah,
Zweifel
right.
gelassen,
I left no
dass ein
doubt that an
kriegerischer
armed conflict might
Konflikt
break out.
ausbrechen könnte. Das war ja klar.
That much was obvious.
And that's the meeting at which they work out the Soviet-German non-aggression pact.
Mm-hmm. The Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, as it's known in history.
And then, in August, the bombshell, this time from Moscow. Incredibly, Stalin and Hitler join hands. The arch enemies of old become fellow aggressors. And von Ribbentrop flies back to Berlin with the news that the way is now clear.
When he gets news from Ribbentrop, Hitler says, now we have them. And of course, the world is absolutely shocked. You couldn't find two more natural enemies. Even the leadership within the Reich is stunned by this news because it's so unlikely. It just so goes.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, quick, I wouldn't call it a fun fact. It's actually a disgusting, ugly fact. When Ribbentrop, Hakim Ribbentrop went to Moscow, Hitler sent Heinrich Hoffmann, his personal photographer, with Ribbentrop, to the negotiations to actually photograph Stalin's ears to see if he was of Jewish descent. Because apparently, according to this is a true story.
I believe you.
Yeah. If your ears, like your earlobes, are like ingrown into your face, then you're Jewish. If they're separate, then you're not. And apparently, with the photographs that came back, like Stalin was good. He wasn't Jewish. Like, I know. It's funny to the point where it's not funny.
It's so like the bottom of the lobe has to go into it has to connect to
Yeah,
your,
like when apparent, but that's their weird like eugenics thing.
yeah, that's weird. I mean, mine don't because I have my grandfather's ears. So
It doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't make any sense. People can be from different ethnicities and have that. Like that is just such a weird thing to do. It's obsessive.
yeah,
Weird.
it's like saying that Jews have big noses. Not really.
There's a lot of Jews who are blonde, look like me. Blonde, small nose, like I don't have blue eyes, but I have blue eyes. Like there's no one certain like criteria for people.
Eugenics is one of the most nonsensical things probably in the history of this world. And yes, unfortunately, the United States, top-notch job, guys. We started it. Now, we didn't carry it as far as somebody did, but quite frankly, it's still not great. And even it's even said in this this docu-series, it's not a documentary, that Stalin was not crazy about this whole kind of like race-based eugenics thing. He wasn't down with that. And so like when they came to an agreement, a
No,
lot of
he was more obsessed with people like trying to stab him in the back and being ideologically like his eugenics was more like ideologenics than your like genetics. He didn't like people with a different ideology because he was like a very committed Marxist.
yeah, also not great.
It was such a shock, like to even like America or the rest of the world when you have a fascist and a Marxist who ideologically are very opposing ideas and hate each other, but now they're kind of like shaking hands. So even a lot of people in the Soviet Union were like, "What are you doing?" Like these folks have nothing to do with what we believe in. They don't like what we believe in. So why are we all of a sudden like having a pact?
It's a great point. Yeah. Again, also not a great thing. but at least it was. And this is a small margin. At least it wasn't based on your actual physical characteristics or your it wasn't based on eugenics, but no, imprisoning your opponents and ultimately committing genocide against people wasn't great either on either front.
Hitler says, now we have them. And of course, the world is absolutely shocked. You couldn't find two more natural enemies. Even the leadership within the Reich is stunned by this news because it's so unlikely. It just so goes against what Hitler has been proclaiming about Jewish Bolsheviks. But then the thing that killed Germany in the First World War was fighting with Russia on one front and the Western Allies on the other.
And Anna said that because fighting on two fronts is insane. You're looking just to lose.
And Hitler's found a way out of that conundrum by doing this pact.
Durch Jahrhunderte haben Deutschland und Russland in Freundschaft und in Frieden nebeneinander gelebt.
I gotta read it, sorry.
Found a way out of that conundrum by doing this pact.
Durch Jahrhunderte haben
Throughout
Deutschland
centuries,
und
Germany and
Russland
Russia
in Freundschaft
have
und
lived
in
next to
Frieden
each other in
nebeneinander
peace and
gelebt.
friendship.
Warum soll das in der
Why should it
Zukunft
not
nicht
be
wieder so
possible in the
möglich sein?
future once again?
Lie. Exactly why you should not trust politicians who talk in these platitudes. A lot of the Bolshevik initial people, like Lenin, was actually Jewish. Trotsky, his second-hand man, was Jewish. Stalin was Georgian, not like from the United States, like from
Not like Georgian.
Like he had such a racial hatred. Like no, this is all lies. He wouldn't know.
Yes. No, it's absolutely all lies. Wade said, we won two fronts. Ryan, to be fair. Yeah, we did because we had obviously had to go to war with Japan, and we were actually obviously marching, Normandy and all that kind of stuff. We did have an advantage, a giant sea between us, an ocean, giant sea. We had a couple of giant oceans between us, but no, I think that quite frankly, had Hitler maybe focused on taking out Britain and ending it there, and then maybe I don't know. What's up, buddy? Hey, Clue. Hey, Ryan and Anna. Is Monday the new day for this stream? Probably. I'll let you know if it changes. Yeah, I meant land, not water. Now look, that doesn't mean that trust me, German spies made it to the United States shores. Nazi spies made it to the U.S. shores more than once. They were just, but well, Clue, we'll figure things out. Trust me. If things going back to to hunting Hitler, we'll figure things out. Trust me. Well, it'll be a group consensus and figure out what we want to do. So. I don't know which direction. It probably would have been easier if Hitler conquered Europe to go.
Like
go
I believe in the fact that everybody did their part. Europe did their part. I think the Soviet Union did their part on the Eastern Front. I think the United States did their part. So did a lot of African countries. They did their part. That's why the whole world was in flames. Everybody was doing the best that they could to fight this world war. And everybody succeeded, and then new shit started happening, which continues to this day.
Can I ask you a question? If you were in the position, and let's say ultimately you in this position, Hitler conquered the UK and the UK fell. Which direction, in your opinion, would you go first if you wanted to try to? Because ultimately, his goal was world domination. He wanted a Fifth Reich that would last for 1,000 years, which meant the whole entire world was under his thumb.
Yeah, and one of his actual before the Blitzkrieg, one of the tactics was an amphibian assault by submarines, and for some reason that failed.
The
Again,
British
like,
Channel's rough to get through. It's some of
it's
the
rough
roughest
to get
waters.
through, but also I think it was because of the spirit of the British people. Like, why do you think Queen Elizabeth II, when she was only a teenager and she just became queen, and may she rest in peace, what a wonderful queen she was, she stayed. Everybody was being evacuated. She said, "No, I'm here for my people. Not going to leave. If they're staying here and fighting, then I'm going to stay here and fight." And she was only 18 years old. I think the resolve, and I think that's what Tolkien was actually going back to Tolkien, what he was trying to portray. It's that spirit of, you can't put it into words, you can't put it into, some sort of little vial, but you can put it into a ring, I guess, which is what he did. But like, that is something I can't explain it. Like, Russian people have the same thing. You will fight till the end. I think American people have the same thing, if you were on the right side of history.
Which direction would you go, though, hypothetically, if you were trying to conquer the world? East or west? Both answers suck, right?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I mean, damn. I guess I would do the same thing as him, go a little bit east and then kind of, yeah, I wouldn't go west though. No. But he just went everywhere.
He did go everywhere.
East, west, south, north.
That's why I asked this question, because
like, he went everywhere. And thank God that he did, because we won. All of us won.
if he would have got an atomic bomb, though, it'd have been really bad.
Yeah, well, he didn't, so.
Well, we haven't got to that season of Hunting Mustache Man, but he was pretty darn close.
Knew that this was their doom. And it was only a few days later, after the pact was announced, that Hitler told his generals to begin mobilization to almost imminently invade Poland.
In Poland, there is no official comment on the latest German moves, but a dispatch from Warsaw says the country is standing firm and ready to fight if necessary.
On the eve of the war itself, there was a German operation, Operation Himmler, and there were a number of false flag operations staged along the border to make it look as if the Poles had attacked Germany, and therefore that the Germans were defending themselves.
Nazi Germany staged a fake attack and even brought concentration camp prisoners, dressed them up in uniform, and had them drugged, had them killed to make it look like Poland had attacked first.
Yep.
And Hitler says, this is an outrage, Poland has provoked Germany, and therefore we have to answer back. Well, of course, Hitler's been preparing for war for a while.
And here is the United Press flash from Warsaw, which says officially that German planes have bombed railway stations in 3 Polish towns.
In September 1939, the Nazis march into Poland, and my grandfather, along with other press people, are invited to follow along behind so that they can report their glorious conquering of Europe.
On Tuesday, I found myself on a hill in west of the city, which had been occupied 2 days before. 2 miles.
So
yeah, this is the guy, the CBS journalist, where I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about, dude. I'm sorry, because the audio is very, which I don't blame him for. You're in the middle of a war.
Yeah. I do think that the narrator that they got to portray this individual,
I think that's the
it's
actual recording, isn't it?
this one's the actual recording, but the
Yeah.
narrator they got to narrate his diaries is pretty darn close. Usually they don't give a crap and they just like whatever. And the voices are completely different, like so.
To north of us, the killing was going on. You could hear the deep roar of the German artillery, the pearls they had moved, and the red tent tingling machine guns on both sides. The sound of these shells exploding, and the guns from the airplane were suffering. Not the slightest sign of strain or excitement among the German officers at our observation post. It reminded me of a portrait of a championship football team at home who sit calmly on the side.
I think that basically he's recording off of something that obviously it was extremely primitive at the time. So
Yeah,
it's
just enhanced audio, which makes it sound a bit weird, but like that's normal.
yeah. I mean,
Sometimes even like you stream and like you don't understand what the other person is saying in 2024, or like working in radio, you're in a like professional studio, and sometimes things go a bit weird if you're having somebody from overseas and they're connecting and you like have to transcribe it, like. But even for me, this was I had to look at the subtitles because I was like, I don't get what he's saying.
oh yeah. Clue says he covered so much ground without the internet. Scary. What if he had the internet?
Oh
The
wow.
world would know about it a lot faster.
Oh, they actually did.
No, the world did know. Yeah. Sorry.
No, they did because he talks about it. He
No, I
said it.
know. Sorry, guys. I've had like a frog in my throat today. I don't know what's going on, but
I know, me too, right?
yeah, I don't get it. I was fine yesterday. So what's even ironic is that so I told you that I watched that stream. One of the I think it was the second stream that we had actually because we've known each other for like a little over a year now. I went back and watched the audio. I'm sorry, I watched the stream and I was listening to the audio. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with my microphone? And it's not this microphone. This is a different one. It's my old microphone. And I'm like, was it on the wrong mic? Because I sound like shit. And nobody said anything. And I was like, that would have drove me nuts. And I've been like, hey, bro, I think you're on the wrong mic because you sound kind of hollow. And it just, yeah, it sounded like maybe I was on a camera microphone or something. It was just, yeah. But anyway, even in today's world, like, we have audio issues, but imagine being in the middle, 1939, in the middle of a war. We had batteries as human beings, but like they were like this. They were the size of a brick. You'd have like a flashlight and the big giant thing on the bottom. That was the battery.
And you have to change the bulb every time you take a picture.
Yep. Because basically it burst the filament.
Yeah.
Once the machine had created, those stop. Below us, in the streets of the town, women with their youngsters stood around in little clusters, listening to the din of the cannon and the rattle of machine guns. The bitterness, the anguish on the faces of old women was indescribable, tragic and grotesque. Grotesque that we should be standing there watching the killing as though it were a football game, and we'd come to be off in a grandstand.
So the German attack is very fast, very, very effective. All of a sudden, on the 17th of September, the Soviet Union invades from their side.
Oh, hold on. I like that bullet point, how they did that. Like just the literal
Attack is very fast, very, very effective. All of a sudden, on the 17th of September, the Soviet Union invades from their side.
Yes, indeedy, feed the needy. You done screwed up there, fam. You done screwed up. Yeah. So it's interesting, and I would actually like to ask you because obviously it says Russia enters the war.
Mhm.
Why would it not say the Soviet Union enters the war? Or is it always been
It was no, it was still called Russia. I think.
was it?
Yeah. I mean, it was
So
the Soviet Union, but like, people on the maps and everything still called it Russia.
was it kind of like because the Soviet Union was kind of like a collection of like kind of like states almost? Does that make sense?
No, I think maybe because they didn't want to give it that like expansive like meaning of like it's the Soviet Union of all these different countries and regions, like it's Russia. But like even when they were like carving up like the Baltic and the Black Sea with Hitler, like Stalin and him, one of the reasons why they gave like Latvia to is because of the uh historical importance of having those regions under the Russian Empire.
Okay.
So like it I don't know. To me, it doesn't like even today, like people say like Russian Federation or Russia, like as long as you don't call it the Soviet Union, I don't care.
Well, I mean, the Soviet Union doesn't exist
It was
anymore.
only again so many, like we were saying, so many years after the end of the First World War. So maybe calling it Russia made it like demeaned it because Russia lost in the First World War.
I mean, I have no
Or
idea.
maybe it was just propaganda. They didn't want to put the Bolshevik idea of Marxism and communism into people's heads, so call it Russia.
Maybe. I don't know. It's one reason that I literally asked because I have no idea. But yeah.
What the world didn't know was that there were these secret agreements that were part of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, in which Hitler and Stalin had agreed that they would divide up Poland.
Will you please explain what took place in den Verhandlungen mit Stalin und Molotow? Es ist dann eine Demarkationslinie
A line of demarcation was agreed
worden, dass für den Fall,
so that in the event of war,
hier ein kriegischer Konflikt entstände, dass hier eine
there should be a
Abgrenzung
boundary line.
stattfinden müsse.
This is being said by Ribbentrop in the Nuremberg trial. So
Yes.
don't listen, like don't take at face value what he's saying because he's obviously on trial for his life. So he's gonna say whatever the hell he wants to say.
Yeah, he's lying. So it's
He did say one thing that was true.
that he sucks.
No, something else.
Okay, no, I'm kidding. Go ahead, Anna. Yeah, you talk about it.
No, he's saying it right now.
Okay. I thought maybe you wanted to add a little context, but it's all good.
When the actual Nuremberg trial happened, so you had the prosecution was the United States, France, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union. And everybody, when there's a trial, you have to give the defense has to give all evidence, which is called discovery, to every side. So they failed. They gave all this stuff to the Americans, but they failed to give it to the Soviets. So when Ribbentrop is saying this, the Soviets were very surprised and shocked at certain things because they never received these documents where he's in his diary is saying something which he is getting to.
Yep. All right. Just wanted to.
Damit nicht irgendeine Kollision zwischen den deutschen und
Between
russischen
Germany and
Interessen
Russia interests.
stattfinden könnte oder sollte. Und zwar
This was
durch
done
ein
by the
geheimes
supplementary
Zusatzprotokoll.
protocol.
The Soviet prosecution team and the Soviet judge They left for Nuremberg without knowing the details of the secret protocols.
Exactly.
And Ribbentrop then makes the argument that if Germany was guilty of crimes against peace, then the Soviets, right, certainly must have been too. For this to be revealed in court, for Ribbentrop himself to be describing it, this was a real moment in the trial.
Within about a month, Poland ceased to exist as a country. It was completely partitioned, divided up.
This is interesting. So definitely want to see. Okay, so Poland, obviously, Germany, the Reich, and the Soviet Union.
Between Germany and the Soviet Union.
Polen, der Staat, dem England die Garantie gegeben hat, ist ohne Erfüllung dieser Garantie in 18
Swept away from the map within 18
von der
days with
Landkarte
the guarantee,
weggesetzt worden.
that guarantee unfulfilled.
Damit
With that, the
ist die
first
erste
phase of this
Phase
war
dieses
has come to an end.
Kampfes beendet. Und die zweite beginnt.
The second begins.
All of the ideas behind the German racial crusade, behind Lebensraum, behind all of these brutal visions for dominance in Eastern Europe can be found in Mein Kampf, in Hitler's speeches. But it's truly in Poland in 1939 that the Nazis first had the chance to carry out these policies.
Germany invades with its military, but right behind its military are Einsatzgruppen, meaning task forces, which are made up of a mix of Gestapo, the SS, uniformed police. Those units are charged with eliminating Germany's political and biological enemies, and that's what they do.
Even before the war begins, lists of about 60,000 people are drawn up of the Polish intelligentsia and the elite, including Jews, but not specifically Jews, priests, landowners, university professors, business owners, government officials. This is not going to be a war of the conquest of territory merely. This is going to be a war of annihilation.
Especially after the invasion of Poland, Himmler's power grew significantly. He and the SS were in charge of much of the purging of Jews, and so while they are taking over Poland, they are also radicalizing policy against the Jews.
Himmler sees in the invasion of Poland and in the East the chance for him to grow a vast empire of power. Empire of power not only controlling people's lives, controlling slave labor, controlling the camps, but economic power as well, because of course a lot of things are going to be looted, a lot of money is going to be made out of slave labor. Himmler's got all of that in his mind as well as he starts to create this huge empire.
But for the Nazis, there's a problem that comes with their success in Poland, which has the largest Jewish population in Europe. According to the Nazis, Jews were a dangerous racial other. So the question is, what do we do with these Jews? So as a kind of an interim measure, they decide to essentially concentrate the Jewish population of Poland in ghettos in major cities.
The irony of him saying concentrate, I'm sure there wasn't irony there, but yeah, it's you know, the Jewish population at this time, quite frankly, not a people who had their, you know, who had their own country, not a people who had who caused a lot of problems. But the irony is that they have been othered more times than one.
Yeah.
It's just very ironic.
Yeah. It's awful.
Oh, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Something said low battery, please charge. I don't have anything that has a battery. I know that my mic thing, the soundboard has an internal battery in case power dies, but what is it? I'm not getting power. The thing that you said you had to do, I have to do. So I will play this real quick and to a point of where we can. You want to discuss something, and then I'll do that.
Sure.
Where Jews are locked in. They're tremendously overcrowded. They're not particularly big areas. They're bringing Jews from all over Poland and cramming them into these cities. They force Jews to wear a discernible badge on their clothing, a star that identifies them as Jewish, so that everyone knows who is and who is not Jewish. So it's a strategy of extreme segregation and isolation.
And at that time, when we moved to the ghetto, life started really to be very difficult for us. We sold whatever we were able to. My father got sick, and we were not able.
I mean, these photos are literally, in my opinion, almost
We
as bad as a
sold whatever
concentration
we
camp.
were able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doesn't get better, and that's horrible. Doesn't get better. Just making sure that.
What was that film that I watched a couple of months ago? There was like an influx of. Remember the documentary that I watched that I told you about? World War II in color.
Yes.
Had like the dogfights between like the RAF
Yep.
and the Germans. That was also on Netflix. Performed really badly. People didn't watch it. Then you
Really?
had it's like literally nobody watched that. Then you had the one on I think it was HBO. Yeah, it was HBO Max, which was based on the book Tattooist of Auschwitz, which was more of a love story, but did have a lot of like things about how all of this started. Like it was a TV series, a dramatized TV series, but it had like how because they were in Prague, and then he ended up in like Poland because of and Hungary, and how they were putting people into these little communities and controlling when they can leave, when they can't leave, their papers and all of that. Yeah, that was very I don't know. I didn't like it that much, but those little bits were really good. The book is so much better. And then the other one that came out, there was a lot of things coming out in the last year that I thought was like, wow, interesting. There's a lot of stuff, but people don't watch it for some reason. I don't know why. I'll watch all of it, rewatch it, and watch it over and over again. Never gonna forget that part of history.
Hold on. I'm probably on the wrong mic, but I'm trying to figure out what is going on with the audio. So I'm still here. This hasn't happened in quite a while, so I don't know what's happening now.
I don't know.
But
Yeah, but they're talking now about something that is very important.
yes.
And yeah.
My father got sick, and we were not able to feed him with the right food. He died of pneumonia in the ghetto.
So in this phase is still very unclear both to the Jewish victims and to the Germans how ultimately this is going to settle out, though for the Nazis the vision is ultimately the Jews have to go. It's a question of when and how, and that will be answered depending upon the outcome of the war.
The responsibility lies on the shoulders of one man. By his latest act of naked aggression, Hitler has committed a crime not only against Poland, but against the whole human race.
Shortly after Germany attacks Poland, Britain and France declare war.
1939 haben nun diese Westmächte die Maske fallen lassen. Sie haben Deutschland die Kriegserklärungen geschickt. Und ich kann Frankreich und England nur sagen, auch sie werden den Kampf bekommen.
So sorry, guys. Because I was trying to. I think I fixed it. I just think that I had to unplug the cord and replug the power cord back in. Basically saying that if you want your war, France, Britain, if you want your war, you're going to get your war. Are you talking? You talking? Is he talking?
Oh my God, I'm gonna be a star. Okay, fine. Good Lord.
Look at that chunky butt.
No, don't look at his butt.
He's such a chunky bear.
Oh, what is it? I know you're in British short hair. You would fly in the kitty army, wouldn't you? You would kill those people. You would be like in a Spitfire, wouldn't you? If you were in Ohio.
He's such a chunky butt. I like how you shush him. It's pretty funny. It's not doing it anymore. So it was a power cord issue. It wasn't
Okay,
connected. So that's good. I don't have to hear low battery. That's how she sounds, by the way. I mean, you can't hear it, but I can.
War for Hitler was a fundamental human activity, the motor of history. Hitler felt that war would determine the rise and fall of nations, that only by conquering other nations would one race rise up. It was not a sort of lament that war would be necessary, but it was something he desired.
Our gosh darn it. Our enemies today fall. Germany shall fall. Yeah, Germany can give but one answer. Yeah, Germany will live. Yes, Germany will win.
France and Britain declare war on Germany, and then they do nothing. And they wait. And they settle into what the Germans called the Sitzkrieg, sitting war. There's a few skirmishes here and there, but basically the British Expeditionary Force and the bulk of the French army are sitting and waiting for something to happen. They have no plans to attack Germany. The French have built a protective line, the Maginot Line, and very little happens until May 10th, 1940. Germany attacks the Netherlands, Belgium, and France.
Sucker punch. That dude just sucker punched them all. What a bitch.
Well, unfortunately, in war, we call it a surprise attack because, quite frankly, you catch them off guard, and again, not praising it, you catch them off guard and you take minimal casualties, and they take maximum casualties. It sucks. It sucks. But war is not friendly. It's kind of like I've always heard from, even when I was growing up, you know what? In a fight, there are no rules. So it's like, like physical fight, because, I was a 90s kid, we used to fight. Probably not so much anymore with kids, which is a good thing. But yeah, there are no rules in a fight. There are no rules in war.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, but they rarely follow them, and that's what kind of sucks. It's like, the Geneva Convention, obviously,
Yeah,
has
nobody cares about that, do they?
They have rules of war, and guess what? Pretty much nobody listens. Nobody listens. Zillage says survive. That's the number one rule. That's pretty much it. Survive to fight another day.
One of the key lessons Hitler takes from World War I is that really, if you're going to defeat Eastern Europe, you have to take care of Western Europe first. So you have to defeat France. You have to defeat the Low Countries. You do not want a war on two fronts. Hitler's determined to control the coastline from northern Spain all the way up to basically the Arctic Circle. It's a way to neutralize Britain so that there's no opportunity for the blockade of Germany or to launch an attack against Germany.
So after the German armor breaks through and races to the Channel coast, they've managed to split the British forces in Europe from the bulk of the French army. And the British are trapped in North.
Zillage says, "Hail Ryan and Anna." Hail, buddy. Thank you for being here. Seriously. He's also saying, "Live long and prosper." That's what it looks like. Yes, he is live long and prosper. So I had to look closely. Wow, that kind of means I'm getting old because I was like, wait, what? Anna, you're muted.
Star Trek Day. I gotta go and feed the little Spock.
That damn cat. That cat's gonna have an aneurysm because he's so fat. I kid. He's he's an awesome cat. No, I have a chunky kitty too. Her name is Rhaenyra Targaryen, and she loves the food. When she was a kitten, I would be putting like shredded cheese on something, and she'd be like meow at me. Oh, you want to try it? And I'd like give her like a little piece of shredded cheese, and she would just. And then she like that when she was young, she would eat popcorn. Cat was crazy. Serves me right because now she's fat. But yeah, good to see Zillage here. Anna's already watched this, so I'm kidding. We've watched this, but Anna can fill in where she's coming from after this.
Northern France and southern Belgium. And so they retreat to the coast. There's one open port, Dunkirk, in northern France.
Dunkerque, la marine française.
That was fast.
Oh, okay. You want me to go? All right.
I mean, I guess you can go. Woman, get back in here. She literally left. She literally left. Oh, I don't like her right now. She literally left. So Anna was talking about Dunkirk.
La bourrasque, le foudroyant, le cyclone, le sirocco. Malgré ses défenseurs héroïques,
Despite the heroic actions, the soldiers at Dunkirk reached their limits.
Yeah, Dunkirk was, I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan, and I really did like the film, but I think it doesn't do justice to the effort the normal civilians put in when they were asked to actually give their boats to get soldiers across, because that was the biggest push. So not only did the British win the Blitzkrieg against the Germans, because they were putting all their stuff at that point into the Eastern Front. Now they're not doing that well, and now you have Americans and British and French all going against them. I just love that when people come together and really fight evil. That is awesome.
Till says I shoot you off.
Oh no, it's fine.
What the hell? Not sure if it's just me, but I think it's,
did they?
Yeah, it's just you, man. Because I monitor the stream from a separate monitor. It's live, so
Yeah, I'm amazed at YouTube. Oh, thank you so much, overlords.
YouTube's been having some problems lately.
Hmm.
YouTube's gonna YouTube.
La tâche des soldats est finie, celle des marins continue.
The British forces and some French troops gather there and begin to evacuate to England. The British famously call for any private boats that are capable of crossing the channel to come and help with the evacuation. The German tank forces in particular are exhausted. They have been fighting nonstop for quite some time at this point. They're running low on ammunition, they're running low on fuel. And so the British are able to evacuate the overwhelming majority of their forces in continental Europe and a fair number of French troops as well. They do have to abandon most of their heavy equipment, however, so it's not a victory for the British by any means, even if...
No, because if Afghanistan has taught us anything, leaving your behind is not good. Because then the enemy goes, interesting. That looks nice. What is this? Congratulations, United States. You left about $80 billion worth of equipment in Afghanistan for the certain people to go over. And the British just did the same thing well before this. That's probably one of the reasons that maybe the Germans only got stronger, because they looked at your technology and said, we're going to take some of that. We don't like this. We're going to do this.
The British media makes it into a moral victory.
Alarms sound over Paris. Nazi bombers attack in earnest.
After the British withdrawal at Dunkirk, the French are in disarray and their politics are even more fragmented. And so a decision is made to sign an armistice with the Germans.
William Shire is with the German army in Paris. He sees the swastika on the Eiffel Tower. And he gets a tip from a source, an officer in the German High Command, who tells him there's going to be an armistice, the French are going to surrender, and Hitler wants to be carried out in the same railroad car that the French...
This is... yeah. And this happened. The Soviets have records of this too. Like, this is such propaganda showmanship. Like, let's all stop pretending that both sides don't do this.
Also, it's the birth of the French always just roll over.
No, that's not true.
It is kind of true. That's where the
No,
that's where,
it
that's
isn't.
where
The French
joke...
had a good resistance. Don't you talk bad about the French.
Oh no,
No,
I've
you
been...
got a frog in your throat.
I don't know. I've been to Paris. They seem to roll over a lot. The French don't
Wait,
support...
you went to Paris through Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic? Yeah, okay.
When did Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic go to Paris?
Are you serious?
It's been a while since I've seen the movie.
He literally says to her, to Rose.
Oh, that's right.
Oh
Show me like one of your yeah.
It used to be your favorite film, but anyway.
You are such a girl that you knew that before I did?
I like the story of Titanic. I don't care about that film. Sorry.
Apparently you do.
No, I don't. But yeah, this was all set up. Yeah.
Hashtag Anna loves Titanic, the movie.
Made the Germans...
All right, no jokes, no jokes. This is serious.
...surrender in 1918. That railroad car was in a museum in the little village of Compiègne, France, north of Paris. Shire gets in a car and drives there. And he sees the train is pulled out of the museum. Everything's being set up for this event. There's only 2 foreign correspondents there. a freelance correspondent for NBC, and Shire.
My grandfather realizes the Nazis mic'd everything, and he goes around and searches in the woods for the sound engineers and listens outside. He got the whole story. He was allowed to broadcast with the condition that it would be held in Berlin and not broadcast until after Hitler himself had announced the signing of the treaty. Someone in Berlin flipped the wrong switch.
It went through a shortwave system onto New York.
My grandfather got the biggest scoop of his life. He scooped Hitler and the whole world.
Negotiations begin at 3:30 p.m. German summer time this afternoon. A warm June sun beat down on the great elm and pine trees and cast pleasant shadows on the wooded avenue as Herr Hitler, with the German plenipotentiaries at his side, appeared. His face was grave, but there was a certain spring in his step as he walked for the first time towards the spot where Germany's fate would seal on that November day of 1918. In the center is a great granite block which stands some 3 feet above the ground.
So
Then
there's
followed by the other, walk slowly over to it.
Sorry, Frog. I'm still here.
the,
Hope I'm not getting
okay.
sick.
So this is 1940. Literally when all of this is really escalating. And it's so interesting to have somebody so brave as a journalist actually reporting this live, but like taking notes and then going back to Berlin and having his notes, broadcast sheets redacted or whatever and reporting to America. Like, that's really just something that happens today, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really report live unless you are on the broadcast channel that allows you to say what they want you to say.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that literally that in the United States itself, in this country itself, that has the only, let's say, has the most solid charter for free speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion.
No, it doesn't.
The most solid?
Nope. No. You're literally governed by corporations who tell you what you should watch, what you should see in journalism.
But that doesn't have to do with anything with the U.S. Constitution. That has to do with the bad actors in our government.
So yeah, same here in the United Kingdom.
I mean, the difference is though is that you guys don't have a charter for free speech. That's kind of where I was going with that.
We do have laws for free speech. We have laws against hate speech, which can be interpreted by the government as whatever they want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the difference.
Oh, I know. But it's also the reason that, quite frankly, we have politicians that do try to shut down free speech, but the U.S. Constitution is the ruling law of the land, and you'd have to amend the U.S. Constitution to get around that. So, to where
I don't see your U.S. Constitution protecting people's right to hear fair media.
no, because Obama actually amended that in a bill where it says that the U.S. media can actually spread propaganda. That was a legitimate thing. So, and that sucks. That really sucks. I'm not defending everything we do over here. I'm defending the Constitution of the United States because I don't think that the founding fathers of this country understood that the internet and social media and all this media would be a thing. Uh, so, but yeah,
Mhm.
no, it's no, our media sucks. They're not actual journalists like you are. They're
I think
activists.
they're a really good like, I'm a big fan of, like, Megyn Kelly.
I think she
I'll
does
leave
a good
it.
job.
I think she is extremely intelligent, and she grew her career being in a male-dominated environment, which I'm sorry is the truth. You want to say whatever you want. You're a feminist for saying that, but that is the truth. It is a male, mostly dominated environment, and you get certain things that can amount to certain things that happen which are not okay. So like she still it looks good for her age. She is sharp. She is has very like based opinions on, sorry to say based, but she does. So like for me, like she is somebody I will look up to and listen to, not some like person who got a job just because of DEI and they have something to say. No, you have to have critical thinking, and she does do that.
Yeah, and trust me, nobody here is asking you to, to not, and that's not feminist. That might be first wave feminism back when, like, women couldn't, like, vote and stuff, like women's suffrage. Like, that's not fourth wave feminism. Like, going the pay gender gap. Like, that's not a thing. Um, so
Yes, it is a thing.
not in the United States. It's not.
I have not looked into it in the United States, but in Europe, it is definitely a thing.
Okay,
Definitely a thing.
I did know that. But in the U.S., no, it's very illegal. The reason that women fundamentally make less than men in the United States is because men are willing to work more hours, willing to work overtime, and women
No.
are.
What? What? No.
Yeah,
No. You
yeah.
said you worked like 60 hours? Like, I work whenever, like, I worked 7 days a week for 7 months with no holiday as a woman, as a journalist.
Did you choose to do that?
Yes, I did, but I got
So
paid
you're
less
in a
than
you're an ex.
than some other people who, are hired who are British, and because they're British and don't have the same history as me, like that there is a gender gap for sure. That is not some, even Megyn Kelly talks about it. There's definitely a gender gap.
Okay, but not in the United States based on pay wise. Like, that's
Yes,
illegal.
there is in journalism for sure.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna need the receipts because, quite frankly,
Okay.
no,
I'll
there
send
does.
you the emails from my colleagues in Washington.
Okay, and that's fair. Uh, but quite frankly, yes, men work a lot more dangerous jobs. They work a lot,
True.
and that's not a shot at women. I don't know how we got on this, but it's it's quite frankly something that men are more okay, so women are more nurturing. So, like, teachers, nurses, which, I mean, a female nurse is going to be a lot more understanding than, like, a male nurse, in my opinion. And
No,
that's
don't believe that for a second. I think a lot of men who are male nurses are actually better than some female nurses.
in some instances,
I
yeah.
think if you really want to and you love your profession, you will be the best that you can be. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, whatever. It only comes to when it's physical labor. Like when it's actually like having to do physical things, like in the military, then yes, then there is a difference. But again, you have different jobs for women and for men, and now for trans and for whoever the hell else. I don't care. But like there you can see the difference. With all of these other jobs, I don't see a difference.
But
everybody should be paid equal if they are the end of their day, the work that they're putting in is exactly equal to what the other person is doing.
And in the United States, that's pretty much the case. Now, there might be some scathing factors that are outliers, but no, it's you can't discriminate against women per men based on job. If a woman wants to be a FedEx delivery driver and gets hired, she makes the same as the dude next to her who got hired on the same date.
That's not what I'm talking about. You can hire that person, but you will still, there are in journalism, people who are male will discriminate against you if you are female, because you can't be a correspondent in like war areas. You can't be somebody who is doing this. Like, I've been through it for years and years. I've seen women cry in the bathroom. I've seen them being treated like second class employees because they're not taken seriously. It's always the guys who don't have the experience, who are younger and come in first, and they get the job and they get the good assignments. I'm not talking out of my ass. I've been through this. I've seen it.
Nobody's saying you are.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it happens. So, anyway, back to the show.
Lift up and read the inscription engraved in great high letters. Here, on the 11th of November 1918, succumbed the criminal pride of the German Empire, vanquished by the free peoples which it tried to enslave. He looked for the expression on Hitler's face.
Is that still there? Is that engraving still there in today's world? I don't know. I'll have to look it up, because is that plaque still there? That'd be wild.
It does not change. And in that quaint, old, wartime Barbary car, another amethyst is being drawn up as I speak to you now. We peered through the windows of the car and saw Adolf Hitler laying down the term. The German leader told the French that he had not chosen this spot out of revenge, but merely to right an early wrong. We're turning back to the clock. What a reversing of history we've been watching here in this beautiful Compiègne forest this afternoon.
I sped the stream up because we're running a bit long.
After
I was hoping to sit around
Hitler
2
goes
hours,
on a
but
very early morning tour of Paris. And Paris is still asleep. It's very early in the morning. He goes to see the Eiffel Tower. He goes to the Pantheon. He visits Napoleon's monument and seems to imagine himself as the victor over Napoleon as well. It's as if he still needs to persuade himself that he has won that war, and then vanishes into the mist and goes back to Germany.
Das ganze Volk dankt dem Führer für den glänzendsten Sieg der deutschen Geschichte. Die Fahrt von der Front zurück nach der Reichshauptstadt wurde zu einem wahren Triumphzug.
When Hitler returns from his victory in France and returns to Berlin, the celebrations are rapturous. They won.
Das deutsche Volk hat seine innere Haltung vor allem unter Beweis gestellt durch seine Söhne, die auf den Schlachtfeldern kämpfen und die in wenigen Wochen den nach Deutschlands stärksten militärischen Gegner den Blauen vernichtet haben. Ihr Geist war und bis heute auch der Geist der deutschen Heimat.
Hitler has delivered everything he promised, and I suspect that if he had allowed elections at that point, it would have been a sweeping victory.
Die Absperrmannschaften können sich des Ansturms der Massen kaum noch erwehren.
The initial successes really gave Hitler a public relations boost. And so Germans felt that maybe this is going to be a quick war.
Du bist der Traum, der mich glücklich macht, der mich glücklich macht, heute Nacht. Du bist der Rausch, der mich heiß empfängt, und mich Rauschgeschenk, heute Nacht. Fühlst du nicht selber, dass nur du es bist, was ich sterben will?
I mean, no offense, dudes. I'm not going to sing this for you. like I'm not going to sing the words. It is a German song. It's very nice from that time frame, but I'm not going to sing it.
Die Zukunft gehört den jungen Völkern, die diese Fragen lösen. Und wir haben diese Lösung in Angriff genommen und lösen sie auf.
At that point, Hitler is seriously considering invading Britain. There is an operation being planned, which...
Wait. Easy now. Easy. Ryan is nice. I don't know. So it was... Zillage is... What? He's laughing at me. Zillage says, I meant mass media would have raised Cain if what... Oh, it's on the previous one. So, okay, we're on Z's. Trying to move forward because this is running a little long in the tooth. We went to 3.5 hours last week. I don't want to repeat that. So maybe 2:45 max.
Which is supposed to be an...
I was shooting for 2, but no, it didn't work.
Amphibious invasion of Britain. Hermann Göring, who is, among other things, the commander of the Luftwaffe, and who was an ace pilot in World War I, promises that they can have aerial superiority over Britain.
British fighters speed to engage the foe. In hundreds of desperate dogfights, the invaders are held at bay.
And they failed. The Royal Air Force, especially with its newly produced Spitfire, which are very good planes for that period, manages not only to hold off the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, but also to cause a great deal of damage to it. And so with the Blitz, that is the bombing of London.
Wait, it says, where's Anna? Anna's still here.
I'm playing into my poor feminist, I don't get enough wage trope.
Well, that was helpful.
I'm here. And
other cities, the evacuation of children from London to the countryside. Both stiffens the back of the British population against the Germans.
Never in history has an entire people formed so spiteful an ordeal so bravely. Yes,
yes.
England can take.
And from the German perspective, makes an invasion of Britain clearly impossible. And now the question is, where do we go next?
When Hitler took power, he went about transforming the economy. Hitler started the ball rolling, in a sense, by a sleight of hand, creating a kind of economy that made it look as if Germany was tremendously prosperous, but a lot of...
Wait.
It was done on borrowed money and printing money. Even before the war starts, Hitler decides that in a way, in order to pay a lot of this back, he's going to have to plunder, he's going to have to steal. And one of the things he does is, of course, plan to plunder the resources of the countries he's conquering. And one of the other things he plans to steal is labor. The labor of human beings, which if you put people to work for free, then you don't have to pay your own workers.
Aufgrund des Erlasses des Führers und Reichskanzlers über die Verwaltung der besetzten polnischen Gebiete vom 12. Oktober 1939 ordne ich an. Für die im Generalgouvernement ansässigen Juden wird mit sofortiger Wirkung der Arbeitszwang eingeführt.
Poland was occupied as a colony, not directly incorporated into the Reich, and was turned into something called the General Government. And it was overseen by a civilian Nazi Party leader, Hans Frank. Hans Frank's job was to submit the Poles in this territory, make sure that they did not rise up, make sure that they did not form their own government. They imagined the Poles as truly second-class inhabitants who would be forced into a kind of slave subservience.
Yeah, Hans Frank was a bad person. Very bad. Again, I am always going to go and say this, but go and watch the actual original Nuremberg trials, where you can see all of these assholes like trying to excuse what they did.
Give your full name. That's fine.
Zeuge, hat Ihnen Hitler irgendwelche Weisungen gegeben, wie Sie Ihr Amt als Generalgouverneur zu verwalten haben? Adolf Hitler gab mir dafür zu sorgen, dass dieses Gebiet, das vollkommen zerstört war, irgendwie in Ordnung zu bringen. Haben Sie im Generalgouvernement selbst die Zwangsarbeit eingeführt? Zwangsarbeit und Arbeitszwang wurden durch eine der ersten Verordnungen eingeführt, aber klar, dass ich hierbei nur an eine Arbeitspflicht im Lande gedacht habe und zur Beseitigung.
Apparently Wade is he's bouncing. Thank you for being here, man. Seriously. So
Thank you.
Again, it's just this guy.
Zu verwalten haben. Adolf Hitler gab mir dafür zu sorgen,
It struck me to
dass
see
dieses
it,
Gebiet, das
that
vollkommen
his heritage
zerstört
had been utterly devastated,
war, irgendwie in Ordnung zu bringen.
but somehow put in order again.
Haben Sie im Generalgouvernement
It's propaganda. Did you yourself introduce forced labor in the general government?
die Zwangsarbeit eingeführt? Zwangsarbeit und Arbeitszwang
Forced labor
wurden
was
durch eine der ersten
compulsory.
Verordnungen
We're
eingeführt,
introduced to be one
aber
of the,
klar,
it's going very fast. So
Yeah, I know. It sounds even worse.
dass ich hierbei nur an eine
labor service within the country
im Lande gedacht habe
for repairing the damage caused by
und
the
zur
war
Beseitigung der Kriegsstörungen und durch die zur Vornahme
and for
von
carrying
für
out
das
work
Land
necessary
selbst
for the country
notwendigen
itself.
Gemeinschaftsarbeiten.
The Nazis enslaved over 12 million people across Europe. Many German firms, including Mercedes-Benz, Bosch, Hugo Boss, and Volkswagen, greatly benefited from the use of the slave labor. Yes. Also, Bayer. Brought to you, the aspirin company. Yes. In the United States, ordered from Germany. Just a bunch, just about 500 women to test, this new drug for women on. Weird. They all died. And then Bayer said, hey, Germany, hey, can we get like 500 more? Yes, that's a real thing. So no, corporations in the United States have been heinous for decades upon decades. Aspirin brought to you by Bayer. I'll take aspirin. Well, I really don't take a lot of medication because even if I have a headache, but still, that's heinous. That's heinous that U.S. companies were like, can we get some of the slave labor over here? And they did.
Herr Zeuge, Sie haben nun angegeben, was Sie getan haben.
Crap. Well, you saw it, so I'll read the rest.
Im Interesse der Wohlfahrt der
The
Bevölkerung
population of the general government.
des Generalgouvernements. Es sind Ihnen aber
The prosecution, however, has charged you
eine Reihe von
with
Äußerungen
making a series of statements
vorgehalten worden. Und zwar aus Ihrem eigenen
which they
Tagebuch.
found in your own diary, which seem to contradict
Wie wollen Sie
that.
diesen Widerspruch
How can
erklären?
you explain that contradiction?
The documents, all or nearly all, I imagine, in German, and can be put to the defendant in the course of his examination.
Im Sturm und Drang eines
In the turmoil of a country in flames,
flammenden Landes und eines Entscheidungskampfes auf
in the
Leben und
midst of a
Tod
life and death struggle,
passieren
such
derartige
words
Worte.
may easily be
Sie
used.
sind im Einzelnen furchtbar, die Worte.
Some of the words are terrible.
Auch
I
ich
admit that
bin
I
erschüttert
shocked at
gewesen,
many of the
über
words I
manches
wish I
Wort.
used. No, you're not. Sorry, just for the record, people don't change a lot late in life unless there's a significant reason to do so. And I'm being serious about that. As somebody who understands that late in life, you don't change your patterns over nothing. You change your patterns over something that literally means something. So no, he's full of shit.
At Nuremberg, Hans Frank disavowed responsibility. He claimed that as he was just a civilian governor of one territory, that is, of occupied Poland, that he had played really no fundamental role. That's utterly belied by the fact that he was instrumental in setting up the ghettos, in creating starvation conditions in the ghettos and forced labor conditions in the ghettos. And the very act of ghettoization was understood from the start to be a form of murder. idea was that they would die, and that the idea was they would die in very short order.
Yep.
By the winter of 1940-41, Hitler is in a situation where he has won the war in the West, except that he can't conquer Britain.
France has fallen. The Soviets have invaded and annexed the Baltic states of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. At this point, Hitler or Ribbentrop, they reach out to Stalin and let him know that Molotov should come to Germany and when we should have some more discussions. And so Molotov goes to Berlin in November 1940.
I wanted to highlight this. Yes. Zilch says, I'll pretend to understand what's being said here so I can sound smart. No, you're good, dude. Look, I'm an army grunt, man. I was a door kicker. So trust me, I'm not that smart. Can't keep an old dog, can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, pretty much. It takes a significant life lesson, like, getting married, having kids, like stuff like that, like, when in your older years, you go, or having, I don't know, maybe, a disease or something like that. And you go, whoa, what am I doing? So, yeah, it's, again, speaking of the old dog, not learning new tricks.
A dark,
This one
day,
did.
And Molotov arrived.
Didn't work, but he did.
His reception extremely stiff and formal. For more than a year, ever since Ribbentrop signed the pact which brought the two arch-enemies of this earth together, we've had rumors that the number 2 Bolshevik would repay the visit.
And at stake was the division of Eastern Europe once again. Between the Soviets and the Germans, issues were becoming tense about the fate of the Baltics, about the fate of the Balkans.
Molotov goes with a whole number of questions from Stalin about what is it exactly that Hitler intends for the shape of Europe? Why is it that Germany has troops in Finland, right? Why are they there? What are the intentions? And really presses Ribbentrop and Hitler on these questions.
Whereas the first round of talks in 1939 had gone very well, and in the second round of talks, the real conflicts between the two powers started to surface.
And one of the things that Hitler is trying to convince Molotov is that the war against Britain will soon be won. And on the second day of the negotiations, things are cut short because there were British bombers over Berlin.
The British came over early that evening. Shortly after 9 o'clock, the air raid sirens began to whine. And soon, you could hear the thunder of the flak guns, and in between them, the hum of the bombers overhead.
Hitler's meeting with Molotov is a little bit of an embarrassment because Hermann Goering has promised that no Western planes will ever hit Berlin.
And Ribbentrop, he's trying to continue to make the point that the war against Britain will soon be won, at which point Molotov apparently makes a quip about, like, then why are we sitting here in this bunker? So Molotov leaves, and it's really shortly after that that Hitler begins to initiate war plans against the Soviet Union.
Hitler was dedicated to creating German living space in the East. For Hitler, it was impossible not to attack the Soviet Union. Again, the question was when.
Yep.
Wiemelshire has kind of reached the end of the line for him. He can't deal with the censorship. Mind you, the British are now bombing Berlin. They're now bombing other German cities. There are nights bombing where shrapnel's falling all over the place and him running across parking lots. It becomes intolerable. At some point that fall, he begins to fear he's going to get arrested.
The thing that he really wants to get out are his diaries. If he's smart and he wants to play it safe, he should destroy them. But he doesn't want to do that. It's valuable information that he wants to get out. Things he wasn't able to say on the air, things he observed.
For weeks, I'd mulled over how to get my diaries safely out of Berlin. At some moments, I had thought I ought to destroy them before leaving. There was enough in them to get me hanged if the Gestapo ever discovered them. But I wanted very much to preserve them if I could. Suddenly, the solution became clear. It was risky, but it was worth a try. I laid out the diaries in 2 big suitcases I had bought. Over them, I placed a number of my broadcast scripts, each page of which had been stamped by the military and civilian censors as passed for broadcast. On top, I put a few maps I had picked up from friends on the general staff.
His plan is to put layers of old broadcast notes, which of course were all approved by the censor, so they wouldn't particularly care about that. On top of that goes some military maps, and he thought that maybe they would take those and not dig any deeper. So he actually goes to Gestapo headquarters And they open it up and they see the maps. They take the maps. He's scared.
What else you got there? One of the men said, putting his paw on the pile of papers. The texts of my broadcasts, I said. Every page, as you can see, stamped for approval by the High Command and 2 ministries.
Smart. Very smart.
Both men studied the census stamps. I could see they were impressed. They poked a little deeper, each man now working a suitcase. Soon they would reach the diaries. I now wished I had not come. I felt myself beginning to perspire. I had deliberately got myself into this jam. What a fool. You reported on the German army, one of the agents looked up to ask. All the way to Paris and to the armistice at Compiègne, I said. It will go down in history. That apparently clinched it. Okay, one of them said, obviously proud of his one word of English. And without word, sealed the 2 bags. I was free at last.
Literally
And here is
sealed.
William L. Shire, CBS correspondent,
With the Nazi
recently returned
eagle.
from Berlin. Mr. Shire.
Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia tonight are fighting it out on a 2,000-mile front stretching from the Arctic Sea to the Black Sea. Germany struck today against her late friend and helpmate with the same kind of lightning force which she unleashed on the Western Front a year ago.
When the Germans invaded the Soviet Union on the 22nd of June 1941, the German army numbers over 3 million soldiers. They have about 3,000 tanks, about 600,000 horses, close to 3,000 aircraft, and they invade along a vast front from the Baltic all the way to the Black Sea. Barbarossa is chosen as a name because this was the evil German emperor. And his head-
Anna, do you want to say something?
No, Operation Barbarossa was the epitome of when the war started for my family back in the day.
Kind of mythical figure for the Nazis. The Red Army has 2.5 million troops, has a lot of artillery. And so what you have here is the largest military confrontation in military history.
With the launching of Operation Barbarossa, Hitler moved his military headquarters to the swampy marshes of southern East Prussia in this region called Masuria. The Wolf's Lair was this elaborate set of underground bunkers and conference rooms and dining halls.
This was a very isolated, very desolate, very unpleasant place with a terrible climate, full of mosquitoes and bugs in the summer, deathly cold and damp in the winter.
And Hitler was going to carry out what he thought was going to be a few weeks campaign in this Wolf's Lair. Hitler was wildly confident that the Soviet Union would collapse in a matter of weeks.
Hitler gives a speech to his generals that this war will not be a conventional war. This war will not be fought like the war we fought in Western Europe. This will be a culmination of his race war for Lebensraum.
Barbarossa was designed to be brutal from the start. It was designed to show no mercy.
Yeah.
It's a war against Germany's military and racial enemies. It's a genocidal war.
Hitler the Conqueror, deliberately, out of his own madness, decided to turn on his friend and ally, the Soviet Union.
Big
It
mistake,
led to his doom.
bro. Like,
From then on,
big
the road for
fucking
Adolf Hitler
mistake.
stretched down
You
200
don't know what the Russian people are capable of. That, like, what my family went through back then. Good lord. Big mistake.
Anna, if you're okay with saying what they went through, you don't describe it. Because quite
farms
frankly,
burnt, women, people being taken, little children being taken as hostages, any boys under the age of 12 being taken to labor camps to starve and die, like, big mistake. No.
yeah, it was a massive mistake.
You don't mess with us. Honestly, like, don't freaking mess with us.
Disaster. The ensuing bloody nightmare has no parallel in history.
And that is the 4th episode.
Yeah. The next one will be Pearl Harbor, I think.
Yeah. It would make sense. So this one was, in my opinion, covered very, very well. Historically, from audio and video perspectives, even the commentators, I think, did a good job. So
Yeah.
it was much better than the last one. The
The
last
last
one
one,
was heavily influenced by certain biases. So,
Yeah.
what did you think, Anna?
Like I said in the beginning, I thought that the actual experts, the commentators were talking sense. There was none of this weird, well, like comparing it to other things that we had in the last episode. So I enjoyed it, and it was an important thing to also see them finally like portray something that the Soviet Union did as not something evil, but like give context to why that was happening because of the ideology. So I enjoyed it. I don't know what they're gonna do with Pearl Harbor. Haven't watched the episode, but yeah, I liked it. Thank you.
All right. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Seriously, you guys are awesome. Thank you for watching. And quite frankly, hit the like button. You can leave a comment. You don't have to subscribe. Just, just.
No,
just
please do. We always have like disagreements and conversations, which is how normal discourse in today's society needs to go. You can still like, be civil with each other and have discourse, whether in chat or on the panel, and you know, raise awareness of maybe like parallels of things that are going on today. But thank you, Zillage. Thank you, Clifton. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Wade. It was great. And thank you,
Yeah,
Ren.
no. And discourse is good. Even when you get yelled at. I'm kidding. That's a joke. I'm kidding. No, this is a very sensitive topic. It's one that's rough to talk about. And a lot of people unfortunately in today's world, they avoid tough conversations because they don't want to have them. And I think that just boils down to some of what it is, and then the others are just ideologically captured, and it's not great for the world. Um, Conversation needs to be had. I don't believe that there.
And sorry to interrupt you. Conversations can be had when you are conversing with people who know their history. Whatever you
Conversation
want to think today, history is history. It's objective. I'm sorry.
conversations can be had with a lot of people who may not even know history. It's you might enlighten them and you might not. Um,
Oi.
from my experience, it's the not, but there are a few that you do.
Good.
So, Anna, what do you have coming up? Seriously, are you gonna play video games again?
Maybe. I don't know. I on Steam, but not streaming anything right now. So check us back on Monday. We will do episode 5 of this show, which sometimes we don't like, sometimes we do like, but we always love having people in chat watching us, and not just in chat. Thank you. And thank you.
Absolutely. And this is not hunting Hitler, but trust me, it's coming back. And we'll get to that. So I'm going to use the same outro as I do the intro until I can modify it at some point. But
okay.
my literally editing software is on a glitch, and I emailed them. They're like, "Oh, we know about it," and I'm like, "It's been 2 weeks. You know about it?"
Yeah.
So, well, anyway, thank you for being here, all of you. And thank you for Anna for all of her actual information, and she does a deep dive on a lot of this stuff, as she said
Sorry
earlier.
for that.
Why are you sorry? Don't be sorry.
No. Thank you, everyone. Lots of love.